remember the exact second the ground gave out beneath me. It was a Tuesday. Not that the day mattered. Betrayal doesn't care for calendars. It lands whenever it pleases, like a storm you never saw coming. I had worked at H. Rios and Partners for 10 years to the month. Not one sick day. Not one missed deadline. And certainly never a complaint. I had sacrificed late nights, early mornings, and every single long weekend for that office. And that morning I still brought in coffee for the team. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. I was wearing my dark green blazer, the one that made me feel both elegant and competent. My lucky piece for presentations. I thought we were preparing for a client pitch that day. Turns out I was the pitch. Mariana, he said. He being Cesar Rios, the founder and CEO, and the man who'd once told me, if you ever leave, I'll have to shut the whole firm down. He wasn't smiling that morning. His tone was clipped, efficient, already rehearsed. We're restructuring. Your role is being eliminated. Just like that. No prior conversation. No warning. No offer to move departments. Not even a thank you for the decade I had given him. I sat frozen in the leather chair across from his desk, heart thudding, waiting for the part where he'd say, "Just kidding, it's a test, or we found something better for you." Instead, he leaned back, adjusted the cuff of his Italian shirt and said, "You'll have 2 weeks of severance. It's non-negotiable." 2 weeks. Weeks. After 10 years. I glanced around his office. Modern, pristine, masculine in every way. My portfolio sat on the edge of the desk like a discarded sandwich. The final insult. A new framed photo on his bookshelf I hadn't seen before. Him and her. Her name was Bianca. She was 28, a consultant with a marketing degree she'd barely used. Blonde, confident, always wearing dresses that screamed, "I don't need this job, but I'll take yours." We all knew about her. We pretended not to. She had started helping on projects 6 months ago. But she didn't know architecture, had never opened AutoCAD, and got clients' names wrong in meetings. She sat beside Cesar at lunches, laughed too loudly in his office, and once called our firm's founding partner, Cesar's own father, the old guy on the wall. And now she was getting my desk, my clients, my job. I nodded once. Silent. Mechanical. My pride wouldn't let me ask why. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. "Thank you," I said softly. Understood. My legs trembled, but I didn't stumble. He didn't even rise to shake my hand. He was already looking at his phone. What he didn't know was that someone was listening. I walked out of his office with my head high, passing Bianca in the hall. She gave me a smirk that didn't even bother to pretend. "Oh, are you leaving early?" she chirped. I didn't respond. I couldn't trust my voice. I took the elevator down 1 floor, 2 levels above the lobby, where the conference suites were. My friend Denise, one of our senior project managers, had booked a meeting room for a vendor review. She didn't know I had just been thrown out like trash. I thought maybe I'd hide in there, cry in private, regain composure. But when the elevator opened, I stopped cold. The door to Suite 3A was cracked open, and inside, I saw him. Not Cesar. The man in that room wore a navy jacket. Gray hair. Familiar profile. He was reviewing floor plans and financial documents on the screen with a serious face. His name was Artur Fonseca, and he wasn't just any investor. He was one of the largest silent stakeholders in the firm. Most employees didn't even know he existed. He was the kind of man who let others take the credit while quietly writing the checks. And right now he was reviewing my portfolio. Because 2 weeks ago, Cesar had instructed me to prep a presentation for potential expansion funding. I had no idea that meant I'd be feeding my own replacement. I turned quickly and walked past the suite, heart pounding. Had he heard? Had he seen? That night I went home in a fog. I live alone. No husband. No children. Not even a cat. My work had been my life, my purpose. I didn't eat. Didn't drink. Just sat on my couch in my green blazer, replaying it all in my mind like a bad dream. The humiliation. the betrayal, the smirk on Bianca's face. But what haunted me most was Arthur's presence. Why had no one told me he'd be there that day? The next morning I awoke to 3 missed calls. 2 from unknown numbers. 1 from Denise. Her message was short, but her voice was trembling. Mariana, I don't know what happened yesterday, but Arthur Fonseca just asked for a meeting. With you. Not Cesar. You. I stared at the phone, numb. Within an hour, I was sitting across from Arthur in a private restaurant lounge. Sunlight pouring through the window like something holy. I owe you an apology, he began. Had I known what Cesar was planning, I wouldn't have sat through that meeting so politely. Blinked. You heard. Every word, he said. The walls are thin. And you were right to be quiet. But now it's my turn to speak. He leaned in, lowered his voice. What if I told you I want out? That I'm looking for someone to replace Cesar. Not under him. Instead of him. I stared, stunned. You're serious. Deadly. He sipped his espresso, then added. But I don't invest in victims, Mariana. I invest in founders. Are you ready to start something that's yours? And right then, something in me clicked. The heartbreak began to burn into something sharper. Something cleaner. Resolve. I'm ready, I said. Over the next few weeks, I worked in silence. Not at the office. My keycard had already been revoked. I met Arthur's team in cafes, co-working spaces, and on video calls late into the night. We drafted a business plan, targeting every client Cesar had undervalued or mismanaged. Bianca posted a selfie from my old office the next day. Caption. New beginnings, clinking glasses, #boss moves. She had no idea the earthquake coming. One client, my biggest, a luxury real estate developer named Marcio Diniz, called me personally. If you ever go independent, he said, I'll follow you. Smiled. Funny you should say that. 2 months later we were ready. Brand new firm. Full client list. Investors. And a launch party booked at the very same rooftop venue Cesar once told me I'd never afford. But I saved the best for last. Arthur still owned a controlling stake in H. Rios and Partners. And he had decided it was time for a shareholder vote. Cesar would never see it coming. Not until the very last moment. And neither would Bianca. Because when that final meeting arrived, she was sitting in the room. And someone else was listening. It was the kind of day the city only gets a few times a year. Crisp air. Clear sky. A breeze that didn't fight you, just reminded you to breathe. The kind of day that dares you to start over. I wore a tailored navy pantsuit. No jewelry except for the silver watch my father left me. Hair pulled back. No makeup, just intention. The building we'd chosen for the shareholder meeting was ironically familiar. The same glass-walled tower where Cesar had fired me just 10 weeks earlier. And that was deliberate. Symbolic. Arthur believed in full-circle moments, and so did I. As I stepped out of the elevator and into the marble lobby, I saw Bianca first. She was leaning against the wall near reception, arms crossed, fake tan a shade too orange under the fluorescent lights. She was trying to look bored, but her eyes were darting nervously toward the elevator. She didn't see me. Or maybe she didn't recognize me. A funny thing happens when you're no longer trying to survive, you change. Not just on the outside. Something in your posture. Your eyes. Your silence becomes louder. Bianca's phone rang, and I heard her hiss into it. No, I don't know why Arthur called the vote. Cesar won't even explain it to me. I feel like they're trying to push us out. I pause. No, I am part of the firm. I run half the projects now. I kept walking, expression blank. She still didn't know. That in 1 hour, she'd no longer be part of anything. In the boardroom, the tension was thicker than the polished oak table. Arthur sat at the head. Cesar next to him, trying to mask unease with bravado. His laugh too loud. His comments forced. Glad you could all make it, he said. Just a formality, I'm sure. Arthur has been hinting at new directions, but nothing dramatic. Right, Arthur? Arthur gave him a look so neutral it burned. Then he nodded at the door. We'll begin when the final stakeholder arrives. Cesar raised an eyebrow. We're all here, aren't we? No, said Artur. She's just arriving now. And then the door opened, and I stepped in. Cesar's face didn't register shock right away. Took a heartbeat, maybe two. Then it hit. His smile froze. His posture stiffened. His eyes flicked to Artur, then back to me. What is this? He asked, standing. I didn't answer. I walked to the seat Artur had reserved for me. On the board now. Silent stakeholder no longer. I believe Mariana has something to present, Artur said calmly. I opened my laptop. Clicked one key. The screen lit up behind me with the new firm's logo. Studio Vertice. Hush fell. Then slide by slide, I walked them through the exodus. 10 clients who had quietly pulled projects from H. Rios and Partners over the last 2 months. 5 employees who had left. The decline in revenue. The erosion of goodwill. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I just let the numbers speak. And then I clicked to the final slide. A proposal to merge what remained of H. Rios and Partners into Studio Vertice. For pennies on the dollar. Cesar's voice cracked. You're staging a coup. Artur folded his hands. I'm exercising my majority vote. And offering you the chance to step down with dignity. Cesar turned to Bianca, who had slipped in quietly during the presentation and was now white as the conference walls. You knew about this? He asked. She looked like she might vomit. No, she whispered. I thought she was gone. I turned to her. Had come. I never left, I said. She blinked. You, what do you mean? I let the silence hang just long enough to sting. You were so busy taking my place, Bianca. You never looked to see who was in the room next door. Artur stood. Let's take a vote, he said. The merger was approved by majority. Cesar's shares were bought out. His resignation letter was drafted and signed within 24 hours. Bianca tried to claim she was being unfairly targeted, but her contract wasn't even official. Just verbal promises and flirtation. She had no legal standing. By the end of the week, both were gone. Studio Vertice took over their former space. Rebranded. Rehired. I reinstated Denise as senior partner. Promoted 2 interns who had been overlooked for years. The energy changed almost overnight. No more whispers, no more politics, just real work. But there was one last meeting I needed to take. It was in a small cafe near the university where I'd once studied architecture. Artur had arranged it. Someone wants to speak to you, he said. Someone you impressed. I assumed it was a client. Or maybe a journalist. But when I arrived, I saw her. Sitting at the table. A woman in her 50s, smart eyes, subtle makeup, and an aura of someone who didn't need to introduce herself. I recognized her immediately. Elisa Montero, founder of one of the most prestigious design firms in Sao Paulo. Legend. She stood and extended her hand. Mariana. I followed your story. I shook her hand, stunned. I didn't realize you knew who I was. Oh, I know. Everyone does now. She smiled. I want to offer you something. I left that cafe with an offer to join forces. Not just on one project, but to co-lead a series of landmark developments across the country. The kind of opportunity Cesar would have killed for. And I got it not through politics, not through seduction, but through character, grit, and silence when it counted. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit quietly. In the room next door. The office still smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. It had been 2 months since Studio Vertice officially opened its doors, and every corner of the space was infused with life. Real life. No pretenses. No glass ceilings. No whispered conversations behind closed doors. My name was on the door now. Mariana Azevedo, founding partner. I still didn't believe it some mornings. I'd come in early before the rest of the team, just to walk the halls. To touch the cool concrete walls and remember what they looked like when I was the one being escorted out. Some days, I wondered if Cesar ever walked past the building now. if Bianca still checked the firm's socials to see what we were launching next. A strange part of me hoped they did. But I didn't need to see them again. Or so I thought. It happened unexpectedly. On a Tuesday again of all days. I was invited to be a guest speaker at a private conference on ethical leadership in architecture. It was hosted at a luxury hotel downtown. Small crowd. Big names. And as I scanned the room from backstage, my stomach dropped. He was sitting 2 rows from the front, arms crossed, expression unreadable. He looked older, more tired, thinner, like life had shaved down the bravado. But that wasn't what caught my eye. Bianca was beside him. Only she didn't look like Bianca anymore. Gone were the designer outfits and Instagram glam. She was dressed in neutrals now, hair pulled into a tight ponytail, notebook in hand. She was invisible, as if whatever they had built together, whatever they had stolen, had turned to ash. I turned away before either of them saw me. I didn't need to look back. My speech was titled The Cost of Silence. I told the story, not with names, not with drama, but with weight. The kind that fills the room without shouting. I talked about the danger of undervaluing quiet loyalty, about what happens when leadership forgets the difference between fear and respect, and about how the walls always remember. Sometimes, I said near the end, the most important conversations don't happen across the table. They happen in the room next door, when you think no one's listening. The applause was long, warm, not roaring but honest, the kind that says, "We felt that." When I stepped off stage, a woman approached me, mid-60s, poised, tears in her eyes. "You didn't just tell your story," she said. "You told mine too." I nodded, unable to speak for a moment, because that was what it was all for. Not the firm, not the payback, not even the victory. It was for the women like her, like me, who had been told to stay small, to be quiet, to be replaceable, and who weren't anymore. A week later I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside a simple note. "You won. Hope you know that. B." There was no bitterness in the handwriting. No sarcasm. Just surrender. I folded the note, tucked it into a drawer, and never took it out again. The firm grew faster than we could have dreamed. Within a year, we opened 2 satellite offices, hired 50 new staff, won a National Design Award for our eco-housing prototype. But I still kept my old green blazer, the one I wore the day I was fired, not as a souvenir of pain but as proof that dignity doesn't wear out. Some nights I would sit on the rooftop of our building, the same place Cesar once told me I'd never belong, and I'd look out over the city. Glowed, pulsed, and I would smile. Not because I was proud of what I'd built, but because I had finally learned that sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. And the best revenge is not revenge at all. It's becoming the kind of woman who no longer has to sit in the room next door, because now she owns the building. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.